Peace and love, black family. This is the Prince of Pan-Africanism, Dr. Umar Johnson, coming to you live and direct from the Twin Cities of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Yes, indeed, family, I'm back in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, Minnesota, after being away for almost 2 years. I will be speaking here in Minneapolis tomorrow night. I repeat, Dr. Umar Johnson, the Prince of Pan-Africanism, will be speaking here in Minneapolis, Minnesota tomorrow night at the Capri Theater. To all my brothers and sisters in Minnesota, come on out, show love. You should know that the tickets for children 17 and younger are absolutely free. I repeat, there is no fee for children. All Dr. Umar lectures are free for children 17 and younger. Previously, it was 12 and younger, but I need to make sure that the youth are exposed to the information. I need to make sure that the youth are exposed to the information. So all children at all events, that's tomorrow in Minneapolis, that's Saturday in Seattle, that's on the 30th in Brooklyn, New York, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, September 30th. All children 17 and younger are free. If they look older than 17, they need to have ID. If they look older than 17, they need to have school ID. We're not letting them in if they look older. So mom and dad, you need to make sure they have adequate ID or you will have to pay for them. I repeat, mom or dad, you need to make sure they have adequate ID or you will have to pay for them, because only children 17 and younger will be free. We need those funds for FDMG. We need those funds for next year's college tour. We need those funds for Team Pan-African, the National Independent Black Parent Association, and so forth and so on. So brothers and sisters, this is not going to be a very long session here. It's not going to be very long at all. We'll probably only spend about 20 or 30 minutes on this, but I needed to speak on this because I do not watch regular network television. I do not watch regular network television very much, but coincidentally, I just so happened to be watching Bill Maher's show. Bill Maher. I was watching his show. I think it's called Politically Incorrect, the Bill Maher show, whatever it's called. I just so happened to be watching that when he was interviewing a Republican senator. And I forget the senator's name. I could care less what the senator's name was. And he was asking him different questions about Donald Trump's agenda as well as the mandate of the Republican Party going forward. I was watching it live. And out of nowhere, unrelated whatsoever to the conversation, they were not talking about race. They were not talking about black people. They were not talking about African American politics. But out of nowhere, this Irishman, and I'm calling him Irishman because the last name Maher is an Irish surname. M-A-H-E-R is an Irish surname. So I'm assuming he's at least partly Irish. He could be Jewish as well. I'm not certain. But be that as it may, he's a white man. A white man who benefits from white privilege in a system that has been built, designed, and managed to marginalize and oppress African people. But out of nowhere, absolutely out of nowhere, he says, I'm a house nigger. Out of nowhere, totally unrelated to the conversation. I'm a house nigger. Now, if I was to take Sigmund Freud, who they consider to be the father of white psychology, Sigmund Freud wrote a book on jokes. Sigmund Freud wrote a book on jokes. And part of Sigmund Freud's premise in his book on jokes is any random concession, any random joke, any random comment is necessarily a particular clue into the inner psyche of the person making the comment. It's no different than a black man. It's no different than a black man making a joke that he's homosexual to his black woman. No black woman is going to laugh at their man making a joke that he's gay. If a brother makes a joke that he's gay, then that's giving his queen insight at least into the reality that he has thought long and hard on the issue. The question being, why is this particular subject matter on your mind? The premise being, why is this particular subject matter on your mind? So if a brother comes out of the blue with a gay joke, it's not even a topic of conversation. Y'all talking about something totally unrelated, and he comes out of the blue with a gay joke. That's in essence what Bill Maher did on his show in speaking with the Republican congressman. He came out of the blue. They were not discussing race. He came out of the blue and said, I'm a house nigger. So being a doctor of clinical psychology, which I am, having studied the human mind for a generation, having evaluated a generation of African people, being a certified school psychologist, okay, what that signals to me is that Bill Maher has always had this urge to come out and call African people the N-word and not have to apologize for it. For that to come out, unrelated to the conversation that they were having, okay? And I know they were talking about agriculture and they were talking about global warming, but in my opinion, it was still largely unrelated to the conversation. They were not talking about slavery and they were not talking about racial politics. So the fact that Bill Maher made a random, okay, unpremeditated insult to African people everywhere while talking to another privileged white male engaging in a topic and conversation that had nothing to do with us. The conversation they had absolutely nothing to do with us as African people, tells me that in his psyche, subconsciously, he and his ego have been wanting to set itself free in its ability to use the N-word in dealing with black folk. In other words, he had to appease his ego by calling us the N-word, but then trying to pass it off as a joke. Okay? Now, if he is Irish and his last name suggests that he is Irish, anyone who knows the history of Irish and African people, Irish, almost more than any other European ethnic group, it was the Irish who were predominantly responsible for the lynchings of African people. It was the Irish who were predominantly responsible for the draft wars in the Civil War. It was the Irish who were at the head of the lynchings of African people in New York City during the draft riots. It was the Irish who often went to war with African men during the Civil War because they did not want us to fight in the war against the states. It was the Irish who intimidated African people away from jobs and off of their land because they saw us as competition. They saw us as competition for the place that they wanted to occupy in the American social order. So for an Irish man, given the history of oppression that the Irish people have carried out against African people, for him to make a joke about a house nigger is absolutely unacceptable. It is unacceptable to me. It is unacceptable to you. And it should be unacceptable to Ice Cube as well. And I'm going to get back to our brother Ice Cube because I do have a lot of respect for him. But I also need to clarify my brother's contradictions as well. I'm going to get to him in a minute. Now, okay, see, the question that has to be asked is who created the house nigger? So you making jokes about the house. Who created the house? Who created this psychologically terrorized black man or woman? Who created this docile, weak and meek, apologetic African who felt the only way they could survive was to imitate, copy, and parrot the slave master, who felt the only way they could protect their children was to do exactly as the master did, to the point that you were a better white man than your slave master was. See, we have to talk about the tragedy of the house Negro. There needs to be a conversation about the tragedy of the house Negro. Because many of us in America, Black America, we still struggle. We still struggle with the house Negro complex. And if Bill Maher wanted to show some degree of respect to African people, he would have just said house Negro. He could have simply said, I'm a house Negro. But he didn't say, I'm a house Negro. He said, I'm a house nigger. He didn't say, I'm a house Negro. He said, I'm a house nigger. And not to mention that when slavery ended, the American social order used the Irish man. The American social order legitimized and institutionalized the racist aggression that Irish people have always had and have practiced against Africans in America since the Irish showed up on the shores of America during the Irish potato famine, when Irish were dying in the thousands and they came to America seeking and searching for a better life. And once they showed up in America, they immediately went to war with us to take away the small little jobs and lackluster so-called opportunities that they felt that we had. So when the Civil War ended, the American social order gave these racist Irish. They legitimized the racism of Irish against African people by giving them a monopoly on the police department. I'm going to say it again. The American government legitimized and institutionalized the racism of African people. The racism they had against African people by giving them a monopoly on the police departments in this country. So whether Bill Maher is a Jew or Irish, it doesn't matter. They have all participated in the systematic oppression and marginalization of African people. I'm not going to split hairs on his European ancestry, because whether he's Jewish or Irish, they both play a part. But the last name is Irish. So if he is in fact Irish, when you look at the role that the Irish have played in the police departments in the systematic genocide of African people since the end of slavery, he should never have had the audacity to make a statement like that. But see, this begs a conversation on white privilege. This begs a conversation on white privilege. Bill Maher would have never made the comment. Bill Maher would have never made the comment unless he was certain he would get away with it. Bill Maher would have never made the comment unless he was certain that he would have gotten away with it. Now let's contrast that. Let's contrast Bill Maher's disrespectful use of the N-word unnecessarily in an interview on his show with the white senator. Contrast that with the hundreds, if not thousands, of black and white people who have been fired from Hollywood, fired from the music industry for in any way, shape, or form even slightly disrespecting the Jewish Holocaust. Look at how many people have been totally shut down, have their careers destroyed by even symbolically suggesting that they have an issue with the European people. Compare that. And then we have to compare our good brother's Ice Cube's forgiveness of Bill Maher. Now, I have a lot of respect for Ice Cube. Black man, he has taken different stands on situations. I remember when he left NWA, okay, and the Jewish media cartel tried to destroy that brother, and he stood tall. He stood tall on Rodney King. When I look at even his barbershop movies, although there's coonery in all of them, there's also a very strong social message in his barbershop movies. You know, the second barbershop talked about gentrification, very powerful. The third barbershop talked about genocide, systematic genocide against Africans, particularly in Chicago. And I really appreciated how Brother Ice Cube, I really appreciated Brother Ice Cube with how he showed the positivity of the African community in Chicago. I really appreciated Brother Ice Cube and how he showed the positivity of the African community in Chicago by highlighting how, despite all the challenges our family face in Chicago, that they continue to fight and strive for higher ground. Tremendous respect for Ice Cube. Okay, he has shown consistently in his history that he can be a stand-up black man. Now, with that being said, I don't believe Brother Ice Cube went far enough. Okay, and what I mean to say by that, and I want to be very clear to my brother Ice Cube, who I respect, and this is not only to Ice Cube, this is for all of us. This is not only for Ice Cube, this is for all of us. And what I mean to say is, brother, my brother, you do not have the right or the privilege to forgive any white person for a systematic insult or attack against all African people. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again. It is very important that we as African people understand that none of us have a right or privilege to forgive any white person for an attack or insult against all African people. You don't have that right. Ice Cube had no right whatsoever to forgive Bill Maher. I know why he did it. Because we as African people, we are a good-natured, good-hearted people. We as African people, we are a good-natured, good-hearted culture. So we believe in forgive and forget. But as our late great master teacher, scholar, warrior, and fellow Pan-African nationalist, Dr. John Henry Clark said, our humanitarianism, the humanitarianism of the African has been our greatest blessing, but it has also been our greatest downfall. I'm going to repeat it. The humanitarianism of the African has been our greatest blessing, but simultaneously, it has also been our greatest downfall. It has also been our greatest downfall. Do you really think that if Bill Maher was black and he made a joke about the European Jews, if he made a joke about the Jewish Holocaust, do you really think that if Bill Maher was black and he repeated the insults that have been used against Jewish people, if he repeated the K word that has been used against Jewish people, do you think he would have his job right now? Do you think he would have his job right now? He absolutely would not. So I submit to Brother Ice Cube, my brother, you cannot forgive him for that. You can't forgive him for that. By making a joke about that, he's making a joke. He is insulting not only the memory, he is insulting the legacy of every single African person who was victimized in the American Ma'afa. In 2 years, we will be celebrating 400 years. In 2 years, we will be celebrating 400 years of the African struggle in America. August 21st, 1619 to August 21st, 2019. August 21st, 1619 to August 21st, 2019. August 21st, 1619 to August 21st, 2019. 400 years. Currently, 398 years. You're talking hundreds of millions of Africans, not just those in slavery, but those who lived in Reconstruction, those who lived in Jim Crow, those who lived in pre-civil rights, those who lived in the civil rights era, those who suffered now, the Emmett Tills and the Trayvon Martins and the Sandra Blands. Okay? For him to make a joke like that, that insensitive, tells you the type of comments that Bill Maher must make about black people when we're not around. If he's willing to say that on network television, if Bill Maher is willing to make that type of a comment on network television about African people, imagine what he may have to say about us where we're not even around, when he's exclusively around his Irish and Jewish family. Ice Cube had no right to forgive him. He had no right to forgive him. But the other thing I want to say about my brother Ice Cube, to my brother Ice Cube, and I know he was a youth. I know he was a youth. I know he was a youth at the time. But brother Ice Cube, you have to take some responsibility for what Bill Maher did. Ice Cube has to take responsibility for what Bill Maher did. And why does Ice Cube have to take some responsibility for what Bill Maher did? Because NWA, and I grew up in that era. I'm a product of the hip hop generation. And many of you grew up in that era when NWA came of age in the mid-'80s. Y'all remember that. I lived through that. Ice Cube has to take responsibility, partly, some of it. Him and NWA and the whole gangster rap movement has to take some responsibility for what Bill Maher said, because NWA led the way. Niggas with Attitudes, the rap group from Compton, led the way with the glamorization of the N-word, brother. Y'all led the movement to glamorize the N-word, brother. Y'all used that N-word every chance y'all could in that album. Y'all made the N-word synonymous with black revolution. How in the hell can the N-word, a word used to systematically oppress and marginalize African people, how in the hell can that word be turned into an instrument of revolution? Absolutely, it cannot be. You confuse the narrative. When y'all made in the N-word in a instrument of revolution, y'all confused the narrative for the black youth. Y'all confused the narrative for the black youth. The N-word ain't no instrument of my revolution. The N-word has only been an instrument, of global white supremacy against African people. The N-word has only been an instrument of oppression against African people by white supremacy. So NWA is responsible for confusing a narrative for young black males that we haven't recovered from yet. Straight Outta Compton to date has sold 3 million albums. Straight Outta Compton to date has sold 3 million albums. Straight Outta Compton to date has sold 3 million albums, my brother. 3 million albums. So let me ask you a question, brother Ice Cube. And I'm not disrespectful. I'm a supporter and a fan of you, brother. I'm a supporter and a fan of you, okay? But let me ask you a question. When y'all sold 3 million albums since the day that album was released in the 80s until today, okay, several decades, not to mention a movie was just made. A movie was just made on Straight Outta Compton. And if I'm correct, don't quote me, but if I'm correct, it was white boys who wrote the screenplay for Straight Outta Compton. I hope I'm wrong, but from what I read, it was white boys who wrote the screenplay for Straight Outta Compton. So not only did y'all sell 3 million albums glamorizing the N-word, a movie was just made, and I saw the movie. And I thought it was a good representation of what led up to you all incorrectly asserting that the N-word was an instrument of black revolution. I appreciated the movie for its accuracy because it showed what y'all went through. It showed police brutality. But my brother Ice Cube and Dr. Dre, who's a multi-millionaire, who I believe could have paid reparations to the African community for the mistakes of the NWA era. I believe as rich as Dr. Dre is, he should have paid reparations to the black community of America for the impact that you all created by glamorizing and revolutionizing the N-word, which should have never been glamorized or revolutionized. Instead of building schools in the black community, instead of building hospitals in the black community, instead of building supermarkets in the black community, instead of building banks in the black community, our good brother Dr. Dre takes millions of dollars and he gives it to, what was it, University of California with Jimmy Iovine? What did you give them, $50 million, Dr. Dre? Are you serious? A filthy rich white university whose black enrollment is almost next to nothing. A filthy rich white university whose black enrollment is almost next to nothing. And Dr. Dre gives them $20 to $50 million. Okay, so they can build a state-of-the-art music department. But what about Howard University, my brother? What about Bethune-Cookman, my brother? What about Cheney, my brother? What about Lincoln, my brother? What about North Carolina State? What about Morehouse in Hampton? What about Spelman? What about all these HBCUs, South Carolina State? All these black universities that can use $20 to $50 million, and instead of giving it to us, Dr. Dre, you could have given it to Charles Drew. There's an HBCU in Los Angeles. There is a historically black college in Los Angeles known as Charles Drew University. Because I've spoken there several times. Shout out to Dr. Ernie Smith, the foremost black ebonicist in America, who hosts the annual Ebonics Conference. I've spoken there about 3 times at the Ebonics Conference. Okay? You have an HBCU in Los Angeles. Dr. Dre could have given that money to Charles Drew, the HBCU in LA, but instead you take $20 to $50 million that you owe to black folks and you give it to a racist white institution. Unacceptable, my brother. Unacceptable, my brother. Unacceptable. So all I'm saying to my brother Ice Cube is, as you chastise Bill Maher, you have to look in the mirror. As you chastise Bill Maher, you have to look in the mirror, because the NWA movement, the NWA movement is partly responsible for the normalization of the usage of the N-word in the United States and around the world. The NWA, Straight Outta Compton movement, has a serious responsibility that it must accept in the role it played to normalize the usage of the N-word in Black America, white America, and all across the United States. Those 3 million albums that y'all sold, those 3 million albums that NWA sold, who do you think bought most of them? Those 3 million albums that NWA sold, who do you think bought most of them? Those 3 million albums that Straight Outta Compton sold. I'm not even adding Niggas for Life. I'm not even adding the Eazy-E albums. I'm talking purely of the first album, Straight Outta Compton, 3 million. Who you think bought it? I'll tell you who bought it. White kids in the suburbs bought it. When we were growing up in North Philadelphia, the white boys would drive through our neighborhood. The Temple University students, the Drexel students, the University of Penn students, the LaSalle students would drive through Philadelphia bumping NWA. I still remember that as a 6th grader. I still remember that as a 7th grader. I still remember that as an 8th grader. White children bought those 3 million albums. So for Ice Cube to ask Bill Maher, why do you think it was okay to say that? Part of the reason, Ice Cube, he thought it was okay to say that because you and your group, Niggas with Attitudes, made music that was purchased by white folks to the tune of millions. Y'all made music that was purchased by white folks to the tune of millions that helped create an atmosphere where white people feel comfortable to call black people niggas. That's why he said it. That's why he said it. And you did not have any right whatsoever to forgive him for that. Because had he been black and made a joke about Jews, his show would be gone already. Had he been black and made a joke about Jews, his show would be gone already. Had he been black and made a joke about Jews, his show would be gone already. I'm just keeping it 100. I'm just keeping it 100. Because once in a while, somebody has to chastise the hip-hop community. Okay? The mainstream scholars, they don't want to chastise the hip-hop community. But I want the hip-hop community to know, West Coast, East Coast, Midwest, Southeast, if y'all Negroes is cooning, I will speak on you. Dr. Umar will speak on you, hip-hop. I will speak on you. I will speak on the fact that y'all go to nightclubs and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on malt liquor, but our children ain't got no schools. I will speak on the fact that you Negroes will brag about owning 10 and 20 cars, but we ain't got no hospitals. I will speak on this fact that you Negroes consistently, in your videos, consistently sexually objectify black women almost as bad. In the hip-hop videos of today, you black men systematically sexually objectify black women almost as bad as the white man has ever done. And you consistently discriminate against brown and dark-skinned black women in your music videos. I'm talking every last one of you. Rick Ross, Jay-Z, Kanye West, Lil Wayne, whoever you want to name. Jeezy, whoever you want to name. And I respect all of you as black men. But something got to be said about the fact that our leading hip-hop artists got a problem with having dark-skinned women in the rap video. I'm going to say it again. Our leading hip-hop artists got a problem having dark-skinned black women in the music video. Okay? When I look at the trajectory of hip-hop, and when I look at the evolution of hip-hop from the 70s, my birth decade, until now, and I've lived through it all, I have consistently seen the skin tone of black women get lighter and lighter and lighter in these hip-hop videos, to the point now you have rap videos with all white women. You have rap videos where you have more white women in the rap video than you have black women in the rap video. How you gonna tell me you keeping it real? How you gonna tell me you keeping it gangster? How you gonna tell me you keeping it from the hood and your video got more white women in it than black women in it? Come on, brothers. Come on, brothers. Are you not aware that hip hop itself grew out of the revolutionary energy? Do you think it's a coincidence that as soon as the American government begins its assault on the Black Panther Party of yesterday, hip hop begins to evolve? Hip hop was a continuation of the grassroots revolution of the young black male. Hip hop was a continuation of the evolution of revolution that was controlled, managed, and directed by the unapologetically African alpha male in the black community. I'm speaking facts. I'm speaking facts. So to my brother Ice Cube and to all my other hip hop brothers, the OGs and the young men, the OGs and the young men, the OGs and the young men, I challenge y'all. I challenge y'all to put some black, dark-skinned women in your video. I challenge my brothers. And I respect all of them. Jeezy and Rick, Wayne, I respect all you brothers. I respect all you brothers. T.I., I respect all you brothers. East, the Game, 50, I respect all of y'all. But something has to be said about the fact that we are discriminating against dark-skinned black women, and especially natural-headed black women. When the last time you seen a dark-skinned, natural-headed black woman in one of our brothers' hip-hop videos? When is the last time you seen a dark-skinned, nappy-headed black woman in one of these hip-hop videos? I'm going to call a spade a spade. I'm going to call a spade a spade. I'm not one of these scholars who's scared to check the hip-hop generation. Y'all not above criticism, family. Just because you're a rapper, y'all not above criticism. You see, what happened was in the 1980s when C. Dolores Tucker, rest in peace, and others had their campaign against gangster rap. And the black church had their campaign against gangster rap. They got bought out by the music industry. The gangster rappers and the record labels that produced them started paying off the black church. That's why the black church don't stand up against gangster rap, because the black church is a money-making institution. The black church ain't about Jesus. The black church is about cash. The black church ain't about Jesus. The black church is about cash. So when the rappers start paying off the church, and when the music labels stop paying off the church to cut down on the negative publicity, the black church dropped out of the fight against gangster rap. They dropped out of the fight, just like they dropped out of the fight against miseducation. The black church dropped out of the fight against economic castration. The black church dropped out of the fight against police genocide. The black church then damn near dropped out of every fight that is relevant to black America today because they've been paid to shut up. So the hip-hop community doesn't get chastised or criticized, okay, or critiqued by the church. They don't get chastised or criticized or critiqued by the conscious rappers, because they afraid that they're going to lose their opportunities if they critique gangster rap. Y'all don't get critiqued by national black leadership because they want to stay cool. So I'm telling you right now, right here, I'm a part of the hip hop community, and I will critique your ass if you cooning. Dr. Umar Johnson will critique the gangster rappers for cooning. So I'm challenging y'all, every last one of y'all, put some black women in them damn videos and show black women doing something other than shaking their ass. Show black women doing something other than shaking their ass. Put some dark-skinned sisters in them videos and put some nappy-head sisters of any complexion in those videos. Okay? We should see black women of every color. And I want my lemon sisters and butter almond and butter pecan sisters to understand that Dr. Umar is not discriminating against you. I'm not saying you shouldn't be in the video. I'm saying a rap video, any video of African people, because the R&B brothers are guilty too. The R&B brothers are guilty too. Okay? But any video, any music video of African people in any movie, should have a solid bowl of African complexions represented in that movie or video. Every video and movie about us should have a solid bowl of different complexions representing every single skin type in the African diaspora. There should be super yellow, there should be brown, there should be tan, there should be mocha, there should be blue, black, purple. We should have every single color represented in every single video. I'm getting sick and tired of only seeing super light, and now y'all don't even have the light skinned sisters in there. Y'all got white women in there. You cooning. Stop cooning and stop playing up to the European white supremacist narrative that beauty can only come in a light skin and a skinny body. I said stop condoning, reinforcing, and reiterating the European narrative that beauty in a woman can only come from a sister who is light, bright, and damn near white with straight hair. Cut it the hell out. Which one of you rappers going to give us a video respecting black women? I need you to take Tupac, Dear Mama, to a whole nother level where we're going to see every type of black woman in there. From super skinny to full-figured, from chocolate to permed out to nappy-headed. Show me that. Since y'all so gangster, represent us the way we supposed to be represented. Since y'all so gangster, represent us the way that we need to be represented. And I'm not disrespecting my brothers. I'm challenging my brothers. I'm not disrespecting my brothers. I'm challenging my brothers. But y'all been cooning for a long time. And I've been falling back. I ain't been saying much about the hip-hop cooning. I done fell back. I ain't been saying much because a lot of y'all support me. A lot of the hip-hop community, y'all support me and y'all watch me. But damn it, that ain't enough no more. It's time for you to become unapologetic because we at war. Supporting me ain't enough no more, hip-hop community. You got to become unapologetic. You got to become unapologetic. And as far as you hip-hoppers who ain't got black women, I don't give a damn about you. I have no respect for you. I have no respect for you. You running around here pushing an inner city rags to riches narrative with a white or a Chinese woman on your arm. I ain't got no respect for you. I ain't got no respect for you. Okay? Ice Cube, you got to be held accountable too, brother. Ice Cube, you got to be held accountable too. Your barbershop movies, you running around with with light, bright, damn near white too. Where the chocolate sisters in barbershop, Ice Cube? Where are the chocolate sisters in barbershop, Ice Cube? The only time you had a chocolate sister was the second barbershop, wasn't it? Yeah, it was the second barbershop where the brother from Africa, who you clown as being some type of umfufu, the African brother in the second barbershop, or was that the first barbershop? It might have been the first barbershop, who you clown as being some kind of umfufu. He ended up dating a beautiful, richly melanated, naturally haired black woman, but she was kind of made mockery of. She wasn't projected in the barbershop movie as a beautiful black woman. You patronized her. They were the laughing stock of the movie, the richly melanated, dark-skinned African couple. The brother, y'all know who I'm talking about, the brother who worked in the shop and then he started dating the sister. Why did they have to be clowned? Why did they have to be projected as something other than attractive? So Ice Cube, you got to deal with the racism in your own movies, bruh. I love what you did because most black men in the entertainment industry would not have done what you done. I'm glad you stepped up and asked Bill Maher, why do you think that was cool? I appreciate what you did, and we should all appreciate what Ice Cube did because a lot of people wouldn't have done that. So I respect you, brother. You got a black wife, you understand, who you've been committed to for years. In many respects, you are a very good example of what our young men to aspire to. All I'm saying, bruh, is check your contradictions. All I'm saying, bruh, is check your contradictions. NWA is partly responsible for Bill Maher feeling comfortable enough to use the N-word. That's what I'm saying. And I'm saying you should have never forgave him because if he was black and he made a joke about Jews, he would have never been forgiven. And I'm saying that you have to check the racial symbolism in barbershop, in the excessive use of stereotypical images and allegory and metaphor in your own movies. Like I said, Barbershop 3, I love the social messages in Barbershop 3. I think that joke that you let Anthony Anderson make about Maya Angelou, that shit was unacceptable, bruh. That joke that you let, when you said Maya Angelou, and he said the big titty bitch from high school, are you kidding, fam? Are you kidding, fam? You damn near needed to be boycotted for that shit. I don't want to see that in no more barbershops. You don't make a joke about any great ancestors again like that. That woman is deceased with a family. A big titty bitch, that is acceptable? That should have been edited out, brother. And if you respect your people as you claim to, you will edit that shit out of that DVD. So any more barbershop threes that are sold back in business, nobody will see that. Our children do not need to see a movie by a black film producer making mockery of Maya Angelou. Who you talking about? The big titty bitch from high school? Come on, fam. Come on, fam. We should have never heard that. Come on, fam. And Anthony Anderson, I would expect some shit like that from you, a Negro with a show called Blackish, where you cooning with stereotypical images about black folks. I mean, I know we chasing money, but we got to have some damn principles. What happened to principles over profit? That's what's wrong with black America now. Everybody chasing money. Ain't nobody standing for shit. And I ain't just talking about the celebrities. I'm talking about all of us. I'm not just talking about the celebrities. I'm talking about all of us. We don't stand for nothing no more. It's all about $1. It's all about 50 cents. It's all about money. When we gonna stand for some shit? When we gonna stand for some shit? And then the other piece about your son having locks in his hair, and the movie ends when you finally cut the locks off. Come on, bruh. Locks is a traditional African hairstyle. Come on, bruh. Do your research on traditional African hairstyle. Don't target traditional African hairstyle in your movie while you promoting weaves and perms. Don't target traditional African hairstyles in your movie while you promoting weaves and perms. Don't criticize locks in your movie while you promoting weaves and perms. I'm just trying to keep it 100. Ice Cube told Bill Maher, he said, we own the word. Y'all can't use it no more. We own it. I understand you, but brother, we don't want that word. We want to bury that shit. I don't want to own that. I want to bury that damn word. We don't want to own the N-word. We want to bury it. We shouldn't be using it either. And I got to hold myself responsible because I've used it. We all have used it. And we got to work to get that out of our vernacular because it ain't acceptable. I got to bury it too. We all got the, but don't ever tell white folks we own it. We took it from y'all. It ain't good for us to use it no more than it's good for them to use it. We got to eliminate that. It ain't good for us to use it no more than it's good for them to use it. We got to eliminate that. We got to eliminate that. Okay? And I want to challenge my brother Ice Cube, who I respect. Okay? I thought he did a good job because, like I said, most black men in Hollywood wouldn't have went that far. Most black men in Hollywood wouldn't have went that far. Don't forgive him no more, though, bro. Next time you confront a European, all you have to tell them, brother, I cannot forgive what you did. It would take my people to do that. And even my people can't forgive you for what you did. It would take our ancestors to do that. Let them know we a family. We a family. I can't forgive you for using the N-word. Because there's people in my race who've been victimized for that for hundreds of years. Until they forgive you, I can't forgive you. It's just like when black people running around telling white folks we forgive you for slavery. Who the hell are you to tell white folks we forgive them for slavery? Our ancestors ain't give you no damn office. They didn't appoint you to go around forgiving white folks. Our ancestors didn't appoint you to go around forgiving white folks for slavery. You can't forgive them because you didn't suffer from it. You suffered the aftershock. You suffered a post-traumatic slavery disease, but you wasn't whipped. You wasn't chained. Who are you to say you forgive? That's like I get robbed and you gonna forgive the person who robbed me. Did they take your shit or did they take my shit? Did they take your shit or did they take my shit? Who are you to forgive somebody who did something to people who ain't even here to speak for themselves? Who are you to forgive white folks for slavery when our ancestors are not even here to speak for themselves? Stop cooning. Stop cooning. But I do want to challenge my brother Ice Cube with this though. I do want to challenge my brother Ice Cube with this though. When you gonna do a docudrama, brother, you about due. The barbershops is cool and all that. But you know what, brother Ice Cube? You pretty good at film producing, bro. You a genius. The way you be weaving storylines into your movies, Ice Cube is a genius when it comes to film production. He's a genius. I'm going to give props where props is due. Ice Cube is a genius when it comes to film. And because he is so good at what he does, I want to know when Ice Cube going to do a movie on the Haitian Revolution. I want to know when Ice Cube going to do a movie on the George Jackson prison revolt. I want to know when Ice Cube going to do a movie on Sandra Bland. When Ice Cube going to do a movie on Tamir Rice. When Ice Cube going to do a movie on Trayvon. When Ice Cube going to do a movie on Freddie Gray. When Ice Cube going to do a movie on Gabriel Prosser. When Ice Cube going to do a movie on Demar Vesey. Ida B. Wells, Fannie Lou Hamer, Martin Delaney, Patrice Lumumba, Kwame Nkrumah. I could be here all day. There's so many great African epics and time periods from our human experience. Take your pick, bruh. Take your pick, bruh. Keep the barbershops going because you got to meet a certain audience at a certain place. I understand, bruh. If you don't sell the movies, it won't be no more movies. I understand, bruh. But while you doing that, give me something strong. John Singleton hit us with the Rosewood. John Singleton hit us with the Rosewood. He should have hit us with more than that, but he hit us with the Rosewood. I give him that. We waiting on you, Ice Cube. We waiting on you, Ice Cube. We waiting on you, Ice Cube. When you gonna hit us up? So this was not a condemnation. I'm glad Ice Cube took a stand. I salute you. I salute you. This was not a condemnation. I'm glad Ice Cube took a stand. I salute you, my brother. I'm just saying you have to take a look at your contradictions too. I'm just saying you got to take a look at your contradictions. My rappers, Rick Ross and Jeezy and Wayne and 50 and Jay and Kanye and Game and all these brothers, the new brothers, I respect all y'all. I'm glad you earning legal money. I respect all y'all. I'm glad you earning legal money, but now, bruh, y'all got to start putting out some socially conscious music. That next T.I. album, I want to see something socially conscious. That next Rick Ross album, I want to see something socially conscious. That next Lil Wayne, I want to see something socially conscious. That next Jay-Z, that next Jadakiss, that next Lox album, I want to see something socially conscious, bruh. Give me a video with chocolate women with nappy hair. Give me a video with chocolate women and nappy hair. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I salute you and I sit down. I salute you and I sit down. This is the Prince of Pan-Africanism live, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Twin Cities. I'm in town. I will be speaking tomorrow night at the Capri Theater. Doors open up at 4, lecture at 6, book signing at 8:30. Doors open up at 4, lecture at 6, book signing at 8:30. You can get your tickets at the door. You can get them online. princeofpanafricanism.eventbrite.com. Seattle, I will see you Saturday. Seattle, I will see you Saturday. I got to fly back to Philly. I was invited to a special sneak preview by the producers of the Tupac movie, All Eyes on Me. There will be a special sneak preview for certain leaders and organizers in the black community. And I think I'll be asked to give my assessment of the movie. And all I'm going to say is I hope they did not disrespect Tupac's legacy. Because as Tupac, someone who considers Tupac to be the greatest of all time, someone who considers Tupac to be the most revolutionary conscious rapper of all time, okay, he was my own personally favorite rapper, okay, I hope y'all didn't coon Tupac's image. Because if y'all cooned his image, when those newspaper reporters ask me what I think, I'm going to keep it a buck. I'm unapologetic. My community expects Dr. Umar to give the truth as unapologetically and as undiluted as possible. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I hope y'all didn't coon Tupac. I hope y'all didn't coon Tupac. Okay? So I'm looking forward to seeing the Tupac movie and the sneak preview. And then I'll be right back on my way to Seattle. Minneapolis, stand up. I will see you tomorrow. One love.